Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Sam Moulton from the Business Review, and I will be your host. It's our pleasure to have Patena with us today, who will be discussing the evolution of the keg. Today's guest speakers are Anne McKay Hartman-Jemmett, Group Commercial Strategy Director, and Axel Hartwig, Independent Beer Consultant. I'd like to welcome you to our new webinar platform On24. You'll notice that this webinar is browser-based, so if you disconnect at any point, please check the link that you see via email to rejoin. In order to ask questions, you can send them in via the Q&A widget at the bottom of your screen, or use the questions box at the top left-hand corner of your screen. We'll then allocate around 10 or 15 minutes at the end of today's presentation to address any of your questions or thoughts. You can click on the green resources widget and you'll find a couple of links in there from our speakers. And if you require assistance at any point, please use the yellow help widget. But now, without further ado, please allow me to welcome Anne McKay.
Thank you, Sam. Welcome, everybody. Today's webinar is focused on providing you an overview of the market, the keg market, and in particularly how PET kegs can add to the overall marketing mix of brand owners. So we'll be talking you through the trend, the marketing mix. We'll provide you with lists which will allow you to make analysis, but also a number of solutions that will help you grow your business. We'll provide you with checklists and templates throughout the hour or so that we'll be spending together. Firstly, I wanted to introduce Patena to you, just to give you an overview of who we are. And then you'll find that during this webinar, will provide you a very balanced overview of the market. So without further ado, Patena is a game-changing company, recognized as a world leader in the field of sustainable PET and plastic containers innovation. We are partnering with global brands to deliver on their business objectives, with at its core our zero waste program. And zero waste for us means much more than production, development. It also means how we work in partnership with customers on forecasting, understanding their future needs. So it's all about how we can drive waste out of our overall organization. Then it's about economics. So the numbers must work, as well as the fact that it needs to be sustainable. We link corporate social responsibility to commercially viable propositions and offer global brands the opportunity to provide their customers with winning packaging solutions. So we are your business partner, appropriately resourced to support your business objectives. You see a number of the large global brands that we work with, just to give you an idea of exactly what type of organization we are and who our brand owners are they would work in close partnership with. Our Patena team comes from very diverse backgrounds. Without giving you an individual overview, we have people from Unilever, Philip Morris International, KHS, and also drinks companies that join us in delivering a true solution that is workable for brands today. Then we'd like to give you an overview of where we are based in the world. As you may know, we partner with KHS, an equipment provider specifically structured around beverage filling equipment. So we work on their global platform, and additionally to the KHS office location, we are based in London. We are represented by Patena sales team in the US, Germany, Portugal, London, and the Nordics, including Denmark, Sweden, Norway. We manufacture in Ash, which is in the Czech Republic, where you will find all of our large container business based. Lidköping in Sweden, where we base our smaller container business, and Klin, an operation based in Russia, where we provide in-country blowing facilities for our keg product. Our distribution partners are based in Australia, the UK, Portugal and Italy, and we're working also to get represented within India. If we look at Patena as a packaging company, on the left-hand side you see our product range, which is large container, keg and cooler. We also produce jars and small containers for CSD, water and beer. If we're looking at one-way kegs in specific, we are global market leaders with 70% of the market. In Scandinavia, with our smaller container business, we represent 41% of the market. And in the refillable business, which is dominant in Germany, we represent 75% of the market. This is just to provide you with an overview of the type of organization that we are. So how can we make sure that our proposition is your advantage? We very much like to look at the marketplace and particularly brand owner challenges as 1 and 1 equals 3. This means so much that we need to bring something new and innovative to the party. And that's where we believe we can truly be game changing. And I'll talk about what that means in our organization and in specifics to the PET keg container. Economics, all of our solutions need to make financial sense. So it's all about being economical, commercially viable. But at the same time, we need to start to think about what element the eco part brings into this relationship. So we have to make sure that we offer sustainable solutions, whether they be focused around freight or the use of post-consumer recyclate or other areas, saving water and energy, for instance, to make sure that we make the numbers work, but we also make the sustainability work. I've already addressed zero waste to some extent, and it's really looking at our operation and our client's operation to see how we can help drive out waste. Then it's not just only about creating a packaging solution. It's also about the systems that will help you brand owners deliver to your end consumers. That means we need to start to think about filling equipment. We need to think about logistics. We need to understand if local blowing has value to you, the brand owners. And again, I will address those further in the webinar. And then it's not just about sitting still, it's about innovation and design, which is ongoing. Yes, there is a range of products in the marketplace. Yes, they have found a place and are being accepted across a very wide range of brand owners. But that means that we've only traveled the road so far. There is lots of innovation to come, and throughout the year ahead, you'll see further introductions being made to our product range within the keg environment. So if we're looking at trends overall, then there are a number of trends that are taking place, and I won't talk you through every single one of them, but what is particularly interesting in your environment is the premiumization of what's happening in the marketplace. So it's all about improving quality of how we get the product into the market, and for brewers particularly interesting, or any producer, if it's wine or cider, it's very important that the quality they create throughout the production or process needs to be delivered in the same quality, whether it's around the corner or very far away. Maybe if you're producing in Europe and you want to deliver in Australia, we need to make sure that you are being provided with a packaging solution that actually warrants that quality. If we're then looking at the overall marketing mix, and that is really, I think, the reason why you joined this webinar, is to start to look what is available to you. You have many different options in how to address the market. And if you're looking at the left hand of the screen, you find glass, metal, PET and steel, which will all be part of your overall marketing mix, whether you're packaging beer, wine or cider. And we understand that, and we truly believe that there is a space for all of them within that environment. What I would like to do today is concentrate on bulk packaging, the 5 liter and greater. And that basically means that there is a logical choice to be made. It basically means that glass is highly likely to be out, as is metal. But it very much means that steel and PET are very viable options. I'm interested in understanding in the people that are participating in this webinar, are you currently using PET as part of your packaging solution? And a very simple question, yes, no, you may be in trial phase or you're currently reviewing your options. The reason why I'm interested in trying to understand that, and if you would like to vote, then that would be very helpful. The reason why we're interested is I would like to understand what kind of audience we have on this webinar. That will allow us to be more specific once we get a better understanding of how the mix is represented here and now. I believe Sam is collecting the votes, and he will be displaying them shortly.
Thank you very much. Would you like me to read out the question?
Yes, please.
Is PET for bulk packaging currently already part of your packaging solution within your marketing mix? And so the answers could be A, yes, B, no, C, currently in trial phase, or D, reviewing my options. So if you could just take a few moments to vote now, and we'll display the results shortly. Did you want to discuss this question, Anne McKay, just to give the attendees an opportunity to vote for a little while longer?
Yeah, for us it's interesting to see how big a part PET is starting to play in the overall market. We're obviously getting a lot of feedback from producers in the beer, wine and cider industry currently, and we believe it's changing, where 3 years ago it was very new and the acceptance rate was quite low. We're trying to understand today, and we're seeing today, that the acceptance rate is far greater. There are lots of very well working examples in the marketplace which make us think that there is a big move to PET, hence the question.
Okay, great, thank you. So hopefully all the attendees have had a good opportunity to vote now, and I'll move us over to the results slide. And it looks like no has won with 40.9%. Is this the sort of thing you were expecting? Could you just comment on these results before carrying on with your presentation?
No, from my point of view, it's a very encouraging response. No, I totally understand that has won. It's still a new innovation from a packaging point of view, particularly in bulk packaging. But I'm very encouraged to see that 22% are already using PET. And probably even more interesting to see that the trial phase and the reviewing my options is actually fairly great. So very encouraged, and thank you very much for your insight there. So to continue then with really the two areas for which you've probably come onto this webinar is, if we've made the decision that bulk packaging over 5 litre is predominantly represented through steel and PET, then how can we make sure we start to understand why PET could be an option to add to your overall marketing mix? And I think in the past, it's been very much the focus of brand owners to add PET to their overall marketing mix for export. And of course, export is a very sensible reason why you may want to consider adding PET to your overall structure. But more and more we're finding that producers are adding PET because of seasonality. They have a fleet. If you look at this year, for instance, we've had a very good summer. We've had a number of brewers run out of steel, and they've added PET to their overall mix. We've worked with them on trials, we've worked with them on loan machines, and they've been able to facilitate that peak out of their organization. They've looked at savings from a water and energy and a freight perspective, and there are some really good arguments to be made to add that for that reason. We're also finding new entrants to the market, craft brewers for instance, small breweries who are looking at very big niches. They find it very easy to enter the market because they don't have to make a big investment to bring a keg fleet to the table. And then premium brands. Premium brands are more and more exploring with PET packaging. And why? Simply because they can look at a 15-liter container and they've got far greater and quicker access into the bars and the restaurants to see what works and what doesn't work. And also, you may find that the premium brands haven't got such a big throughput of volume, so it gets the beer or the wine or the cider to arrive much fresher within those environments. So as you can see, we're trying to be very objective. We understand that PET is only a part of your marketing mix. It will not replace steel in cases. And we truly believe that steel has a very much place in this environment, but PET is more and more starting to be an option to be added to your marketing mix. So what we're looking at ultimately is to facilitate more product streaming into the market. And we're looking to see how we can increase the share of throat. So how can we get people to experience good quality products in market? And we're providing you with packaging solutions to be able to do so. So now that we understand that seasonality, savings, new market entry, premium brands and exports are all options to considering packaging solutions and in particular PET, we need to really understand what that means. So for us it's about changing the game. That 1 and 1 equals 3. So it's about leveraging materials, technologies, system solutions, sustainable development, innovation and polymer engineering. I happened to be with a customer yesterday who told me 5 years ago PET packaging really wasn't a solution for us. But we recognize now that the innovations and the technology have moved on so much that it is a very viable option. So 1 and 1 equals 3 really is working. So how about really understanding what this is all about and why, when you make an analysis of whether PET and a particular provider is an option for your brand and your quality of products, it's all about understanding how to evaluate the container, for instance. And in this case, we talk about our methodology. For us, it's all about initially mixing the materials. So really making sure that we understand PET technology, mixing materials, adding barriers, getting very good CO2 retention and very low oxygen ingress, linked to very advanced barrier technology. And at the same time, we should evaluate if we can introduce savings to you, the user. Then it's about creating a very highly engineered preform. And why is the preform interesting? Well, there is no point in shipping air from A to B. And with our technology, it is possible to ship preforms in bulk, 30,000 preforms in a container, to blow locally, which allows us to take freight off the road and give you as the brand owner far more flexibility in logistics, in storage, and so on and so forth. So we're improving the payload in partnership with you. And then local blowing really is key to creating a high performance container. So if we get the mix of materials correct, we manage to create a preform that is very high stretch, which means we create a very robust container, and we're able to increase the shelf life as well as offer localized blowing, the ability to reduce the energy and the overall reduction of cost. Then really we have a solution that is ready for the market. And Sam, would you be so kind to read out another poll?
Thank you very much. So yeah, it's time for our second and final poll of today's session. It's exactly the same as before. Just click on the answer relevant to you, then click submit, and the question and answers are: if you would consider adding one-way kegs to your marketing mix, your first priority would be to add for seasonality, savings, new market entry, premium brands, or exports. So again, Anna McKay, if you're just able to just talk around this question to give the audience the opportunity to vote.
Yeah, for us again, it's very interesting to see how the audience views the overall use of a PET keg. Like I said earlier, initially the focus has been on using it for export, and the market is telling us currently that there are actually many different ways how PET can be added, PET kegs that is, can be added to the overall marketing mix. And it's really the market that is driving us as much as us driving the market, and it's just interesting to see where the focus is, and that will allow us to position our products more effectively in line with the brand owner requirements.
Okay, great. So hopefully the audience have all had enough time to vote, and I'll move us on to the results slide. And that shows export pretty conclusively with 47.4% has won. So again, if you just want to comment on those results before carrying on.
Well, again, no surprise. Well, maybe not again, no surprise, but this to me is no surprise, because export is very much the way that the PET keg has been positioned in the marketplace. I'm very encouraged to see that new market entries is pretty high as well. Savings, yes, very obviously, we are all looking to see how we can reduce the cost of packaging per litre. So again, no surprise. But very, very interesting is that premium brands are starting to gain ground overall in the marketplace. So that's very encouraging. So to move us on then is really to look at what are the challenges that are being faced, and to answer some of the questions that we've posed as part of this webinar that give the brand owners the knowledge to make decisions on. So in reviewing those polls, you can see that territory is very key. If you're looking to transport your product from far away or too far away, the one-way keg is a very good option because you do not have to facilitate the return journey. I think they're very well known. The high freight costs are very obvious. So if we can ship preforms and blow them locally, that must give the cost advantage that brands are looking for. Payments related to returning packaging is costly, so if you can eliminate them, very, very positive. Loss of steel kegs, absolutely key. It's a very obvious reason to consider PET. And maximizing the payload, you'll start to see a very interesting dynamic coming into the marketplace. How we will be able to facilitate local blowing, not only in partnership with brand owners, but other models come into the market. So that means it becomes more accessible even in the further away markets. CapEx investments, we have found that is from time to time an inhibitor of introducing PET into the marketing mix. But now there are low-cost entries that the industry is working on to make it more accessible to producers to actually do this within their own facility or actually within their local facility. I won't go into detail of what that looks like, but we have some views and ideas and actually programs that help us do that. High demands of sustainability and corporate responsibility, that has to be focused all on the reduction of environmental impact. Taste, and I think taste has been for long a very emotive way of dealing with the choice of packaging. And to date, we have some very excellent independent taste test results that are available in the market that have been done independently. And to all intents and purposes, there is a lot of evidence now that supports the choice that brand owners now make. The flexibility, well, that's all in the marketing mix. It will be a mix of different packaging materials that make you make the choice. I will come back to you, but for now I would like to hand over to Axel Hartwig, who will be talking you through the technical element of this webinar.
Yes, thank you, Annemieke, for overhanding to me. As we know, the P-Tainer keg is a lightweight container and at the moment the lightest available one-way keg system at the world. In the last years we conducted several tests and investigations at the VLV in Berlin and other labs and independent institutes in Germany. The following slides are containing some info about the main results and technological parameters. Already some years ago, some drop tests according to a German DIN were conducted that are simulating a keg drop from a 1 meter height, and the kegs are resisting this drop without any damage. To investigate the impact of a top force on the kegs, which simulates, for example, a sea container transport, some kegs were forced with a stack pressure of 400 Newton for 3 weeks at 30 centigrade degree. That means that one keg was forced with about 40 kilogram on the top. All kegs are without a damage or change of the shape and outer form. Kegs that were stored at 40 centigrade degree for 2 days have shown no leakages. Of course, this is depending on the filled beverage and its CO2 content and the resulting inner maximum pressure, and must be checked at the customer side. The CO2 loss of carbonated soft drinks over a storage time of 9 months is below 10%. And last but not least, one of the most important points, as a lot of beverages are very sensitive against oxygen, is the oxygen increase over a longer storage time. For oxygen intake investigations, kegs in the 20-liter version were filled with degassed water by an automatic filling line. They were stored at about 20 centigrade degree for a period of half a year. Every month the O2 content of each 2 kegs was measured, so the values we see at the chart are average values. As you can see, the quality of the used vented water was very poor. About 0.3 milligram oxygen per liter is for normal conditions, especially in a brewery, too high. Over the storage time, the oxygen content is a little bit alternating from measurement to measurement, but not increasing as some people might know from common PET bottles. All measured O2 concentrations up from 1 month to 6 months of storage time were below the initial concentration of 0.3 milligram oxygen per liter. So not going too much into detail now, the conclusion is that the packaging is preventing the filled product from oxygen. This slide is showing again the O2 concentration in 20-liter kegs, but filled this time by hand with vented water. These kegs were stored up to 9 months after filling, as 6 months are not sufficient and realistic for some export situations. And even with a hand filling, we can achieve very low O2 concentrations. After filling, the oxygen concentration is, in this case, below 60 ppb, what is equal to 0.06 milligram per liter, which is really sufficient for beer. Meanwhile, it's even possible with improved filling instructions to fill by hand with an oxygen intake below 0.03 milligram per liter. We see some fluctuating oxygen values over the storage time. The peak at the 3-month measurement might be caused in a small mistake in hand filling or by measurement. Overall, the oxygen content is on a stable, low level over the whole storage time. And we have to keep in mind that we are talking about ppb, so we are speaking about very low levels. In further tests, we compared the oxygen intake over the storage time of Pitana kegs with other one-way keg solutions and standard steel kegs. In the fresh state, short after filling, some differences regarding the O2 content between the systems are recognizable. These are originated in the properties of the tested keg systems. Over the investigation period of 9 months, the most keg systems are showing a stable oxygen concentration comparable to the common metal kegs. We have to bear in mind at this point that we are speaking about very low O2 concentrations in general. Values between 5 and 20 ppb, for example, are at the working border of oxygen measurement devices and can cause some measurement errors. In this slide, we see that only one one-way keg system shows a severe increase of the oxygen level over the storage time. In this case, the keg, if it's filled with beer, can already cause some oxidation taste or flavor. For taste investigations with beer that were carried out at an beer institute in Germany, we filled at 8 different breweries 8 different types of beer into Pitana kegs. These kegs were stored up to 9 months, and the taste was compared to beer from the same production batches filled by automatic filling lines into steel kegs. We covered the whole beer range from very sensitive beers with a conservative taste, like Kölsch, up to strong and high hop beers like the filled Abbey beer. Some beers were treated by a flash pasteurizer or filtered, others were unfiltered or even fermented with a second fermentation inside the keg. The CO2 content of the tested beer was between 4.8 up to 6.5 grams per liter. As tasting over the storage time, a blind tasting in form of a triangle tasting was conducted every 3 months, beginning some days after filling. On each tasting, 10 educated tasters participated. They should find and describe differences in the tested beers. The result of this taste comparison is very clear. As visible, in most tasting, the tasters were not able to find a statistical relevant difference between the beer from the Pitana keg compared to the metal kegs. Only in one tasting, the tasting with the wheat beer with second fermentation in the keg after a storage time of 9 months, 2 of the 10 tasters described a slight oxidation. As this is the one and only conspicuousness from all overall 30 tastings, we can assess this as negligible. Another industry. Currently, kegs are becoming more and more popular for the wine industry, especially for export. Accordingly, we carried out a tasting of wines filled into Pitana kegs over 1 year. We took each 2 red and white wines, in each case 1 white wine of a cheap standard quality and a high and more expensive quality. Additionally, one sparkling wine was filled. The tasting took place in comparison to the same wine in glass bottles. As tasters, educated persons from the wine industry participated. In summary, the taste and quality of all tested wines was stable over the storage time of 1 year. The quality of the sparkling wine was apparently even improved by longer storage. So all we can see, the impact of the keg to tested different products is fine. Annemieke, I would like to hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Axel. That is very interesting and very in-depth overview of some of the testing that's been performed. Then, if we quickly recap, why would you consider keg? You would consider keg, PET kegs, to reduce potentially your carbon emissions, your cost, your freight, your weight. You would like your kegs to be fully recyclable. You may want to grow. And you're looking for no loss of product integrity, and you would like to accelerate your routes to market. There are systems available to be able to do so. We can produce preforms that allow you to blow and fill in local areas. We are introducing hub and spoke systems. That basically means that we create a structured blowing facility in a local market. That could be the US, for instance. That could be Europe, from which we then dispatch, which makes it again more efficient. And we're able to offer rental systems, reducing that capex exposure. So if we then look at the economics, it's all about, and if you look at the numbers that are presented, it presents our sales within the overall markets. It means there are zero return logistics. We save 160 million liters of water. 25% more liquid can be transported in a truck. We're also able to transport 30,000 kegs in a truck in preform format. And you compare that to 2,000 blown kegs. So there is significant savings and a number of trucks being taken off the road. So that means 20,000 less trips annually. And to give you an overview of what kegs look like, we've inserted a very brief, quick videos to give you an overview of how the preform gets blown and then how the kegs get filled. You will see this has been created in partnership with KHS. As said previously, we use their filling equipment to support us as brand owners. I'll leave you to have a look at the video and I'll come back to you later. Right, hopefully that's put it into perspective. If you've not seen a filling and blowing line before, this is a very good example of our Lipetsk line in Russia. If we then move on, because I'm very aware of the time is moving on, and we have a number of points still to cover. If you are a brand owner making an analysis of how to add different packaging solutions to your overall marketing mix, these are some questions that you may want to ask yourself. What is my marketing mix? And what are the packaging solutions available to me over 5 liters? Am I doing this for export, or are there other areas at play? How can I maximize my payload? What filling equipment do I need to actually deliver this as quickly as possible and add to my overall marketing mix? Some of the product quality points will have been answered maybe today, but there is also white papers very easily available and case studies that can point you in the right direction. There is no return system required, so again it helps with that economic argument. And at the end of the day, it's all about shelf life, cash flow, and brand exposure, which we haven't covered today, but should be one of the points that you actually take up into your list. So in short, I promised to give you an overview of what the solutions could be to those questions presented in that list. So as the marketing mix, you have many considerations to make: glass, metal, steel, and PET. You have an opportunity to add to your points of sale and increase the share of throat. You have different branding opportunities. And as we said before, on premiumization, you're able to start off with small volumes at 15 liters and grow that to 30 liters, or step in at 30 liters if you already have a very well developed market. It gives you flexibility basically, and that flexibility from a PET containers point of view deals with export first and foremost as per your poll, but it also addresses savings and deals with how premium brands want to be introduced into the marketplace more quickly. Seasonality and a quick introduction into market again plays a bigger role. So there is no need for a fleet of kegs if you don't require one. You may require one, but if you don't, there are other options, which will mean you can release substantial cash sums. You may not want to have to replace costly keg fleets, which can be damaged, lost, or stolen. There is no costly keg cleaning system and no expensive tracking system required. Kegs, through preforms, can be produced on demand, and you could reduce your working capital requirements, and minimal keg storage space is required because you can produce them as and when you need them. It gives you the ability to increase the payload of filled containers, and overall it's a low-cost entry into the beverage keg market. We all know it's expensive to set up metal keg delivery and collection systems, and the keg loss in some export markets could be prohibitive. So coming back to the two-stage process, it means we're introducing new materials which are very well established now in the marketplace. There are systems that support that through blow and fill. We can create production hubs which are more local throughout the world, which can then facilitate blown kegs into those local markets. Rental systems will be available to directly address that capital expenditure requirement, which can be an inhibitor of entering the PET market. Through the two-stage process, we reduce the number of trucks on the road, which means there is a reduction in carbon emissions, and new pack designs for specific customers and markets may help you introduce that share of throat or capture that share of throat. Weight reduction and improved payloads all help to make those savings. The costly return system has come up a number of times. It means inbound and outbound logistics are much easier to manage. And if we're talking about cost reduction on the outbound logistics, cost reductions are typically 20 to 30% per hectolitre lower than metal kegs. Certainly something to consider. The costs of using preforms are a fraction of the cost associated to other options. So if we're then looking at reducing the environmental impacts, we have to look at reduction of material usage, the returnability, how we can save water, because water is still a resource that we should be very careful with. There are no return logistics and storage, and we can blow at local sites. And as Axel has already highlighted, taste is very positive out of PET kegs, and it's equal between PET and steel, and as we said previously, many independent tests are available to actually verify our statements. So if we're to make a list of solutions, then here you find that on this particular slide. And without going to them in great detail, you could use this going forward as a reference, because this information will be available, to do a tick list and see what's the most important to you. And ultimately, we understand it's all about shelf life, cash flow, and brand exposure. So to start to round off is really PET kegs are all about evolutionary change. And many of you may remember that it was at one stage absolutely unthinkable that we would move from a wooden barrel to a steel keg. But somehow, very quickly, the steel keg got accepted as the way to transport. Very well recognized brand with excellent quality products throughout the world. And what we're seeing here is there is now starting to become the same acceptance for PET kegs. So it's truly an evolutionary change. Here we show you a diagram if you're now considering, gosh, quite interested and I'd like to understand a little bit more and what steps would I need to make, this is a step-by-step of how to consider adding PET to your marketing mix. We've shown you how to make the analysis of, is this something that you should be adding to your marketing mix? What are the solutions available to some of your challenges, your growth of business, your shelf life, your logistics and economic questions can be answered. But very practically, we wanted to give you a very quick insight into what next step to take. So really it starts off with the question, are one-way kegs an option for my brand? Then it's all about sitting down with a number of experts to understand what the potential solutions can be, specific to you. And nothing is more powerful than trying it out. Working with a provider to set up a trial in your facility to really understand how your product reacts with this kind of packaging solution. And then it's about making your business case, because it's about economics, it's about commercial viability, and it's really about understanding where PET can add to that marketing mix and the share of throat. And then it's about your choice. Once you've collected the data, you've reviewed the trial information, we've been on site and worked with you to package and really understand the full logistics cycle, then it's about your choice to make those decisions. And to give you an idea of what time frame that can be completed in, we give you a guidance of between 8 and 12 weeks. Your particular processes may be very different, but it's possible to do it in a fairly short time frame. And then ultimately you will identify what your benefits are, and then really it's about pressing start whenever you're ready to do so. So for us, it's just about showing you that it's putting you in the driving seat. It's the brand owners that will lead. Here at Patena, we have a zero waste program at your disposal, which means we incorporate lean manufacture, FMEA processing, benchmarking, and overall keystones of communication, leadership, and our values to support your organization. And it's very much about creating communities where we share this kind of information. The webinar is a great way of bringing knowledge to a very wide audience. We provide also key performance indicators, as you would expect us to do, and they can be structured around your organization. We are flexible to deal with that. And to just close off with one slide is we are game changing. We are able to provide you a solution, and very interested in hearing your questions. Sam, could you facilitate those?
Thank you very much, Anne-Mieke and Axel as well. So yes, it's now time for our slightly shorter Q&A session. I'll dive straight into the first question, which is regarding someone understands that you're producing the Draft Master keg for Carlsberg. Is that right?
Yes, we are producing the Draft Master keg for Carlsberg. It is our preform that you find in the Draft Master keg, but it's very firmly the Carlsberg fitting that makes it a Carlsberg product.
Okay, thank you very much. Can PET kegs run on existing filling lines?
Yes, PET kegs can run on existing filling lines. There are two ways to fill a PET keg. That's either our classic keg, which gets filled from the top down in, for instance, a KHS Pet Boy. Alternatively, we have a upside down keg that can be filled on existing filling lines. Patena will be making an introduction into the marketplace in addition to these two products at Brouw.
Thank you very much. I just want to address the audience briefly. We're getting towards the end now, so if you did have any questions, now's the time to type them into that box and send them to us so we can have a look at those. The next question we have at the moment is, how easy is it to trial PET kegs with my brand, and do I have to commit for a long term prior to the trial?
We believe that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So we have available to brand owners a number of fillers that we are very happy to dispatch without a firm commitment to a brand owner, and work in partnership with them to perform filling trials on their particular sites. There is no requirement to sign up for any period of time. We're very keen that brand owners start to experience how easy it is to work with PET kegs, relatively easy of course, with PET kegs in those local markets.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. The next question is it easy to brand the keg so we are able to get exposure in HORECA?
It is easy to brand the kegs. It is worth noting that at this particular moment in time, you would look at branding through an outer box. So the PET keg you will have seen on the video being blown and a fitting placed and filled, and it's then inserted in a box. And at this particular stage, the branding would happen on the outer box.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And the next question is it possible to connect me with current users so I can understand from them what is happening in market?
Yeah, we're absolutely delighted in a structured way, of course, to connect with already users. We're in the future looking to set up a number of forums where people connect with each other more easily. But yes, if anybody is particularly keen to talk to our existing brand owners direct and not just rely on the case study information that is out there, we're very happy to facilitate that.
Thank you very much. I think possibly the last question, which is, I see this is very much an export product. Are they right?
I think, yes, partly right, but I would challenge the very much so an export product. I think what we've seen in the poll is that export has been the dominant reason to date to consider PET kegs as an addition to the marketing mix. More and more are we finding seasonality, new market entry, costs, and so on, reasons of why you may want to transfer or add a PET kegs to the equation.
Thank you very much. So yeah, that does look like it was our last question we've got time for today. If we didn't get through to your question, we do have your contact details, and you will be able to get a response in due course from Betena. And to anyone watching on demand, you can still continue to submit your questions via the Q&A widget, and they'll be forwarded on to Betena through the On24 software. So now that just leaves me to thank Anne, Mickey and Axel for it was a great presentation, and to Betena for sponsoring this session. To all the attendees, you'll receive an email shortly telling you how you can access the on-demand version of this presentation, or you can access this through our website, which is www.business-review-webinars.com shortly. We look forward to sharing further webinars with you, so please do keep an eye on our website I just mentioned. Follow us on Twitter, which is @BRWebinars for daily updates, and join our LinkedIn group, Business Review Webinars. So thank you, Anne, Mickey and Axel once again, and thank you to the attendees. I hope you all have a nice day.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.